Hi guys, it's Teacher Kelley here. Today we're going to read a book. Today I selected a book called Thank You, Amu. The person who wrote this book, or the author, their name is Mora. I hope I pronounced her name right. And before we start reading the book, let's look at the title. It says Thank You, Amu. Who do you think Amu is? Is it a person? Maybe it's an animal. Maybe it's a place to visit. I don't know. Let's find out. There's a little note to the reader on the first page, and it says Amu, pronounced Amu, is also the Igbo term for queen. So Amu means queen in another language. I wonder who's the queen. Let's see. Can you see this book right? Here we go. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. "What a delicious stew," said Amu. "Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I ever had." What do you think stew is? This is Amu, and she's cooking something. She's cooking stew. What do you think stew is? Stew is like a soup, a thick soup. You can put meat in there, you can put potatoes in there, carrots, peas, whatever you like. So Amu's making a stew. With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window, out the door, down the hall, toward the street, around the block, until, knock, someone was at the door. Who do you think's at the door? When Amu opened it, she saw little boy. "Little boy," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell." "What is it?" "Thick red stew." Stew," he sighed. "That sure sounds yummy." See him playing with his race car? Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It wouldn't hurt to share. "Would you like some?" Little boy nodded. Yes. So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," said the little boy and went on his way. This means thank you in sign language. So you can say thank you with me. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to reading her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window, down the door, down the hall, toward the street, around the block, until another knock at the door. Who do you think it is this time? A police officer. "Miss Police Officer," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell." "What is it?" What's Amu cooking? Thick red stew. Ah, stew, she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some stew? The police officer nodded, yes. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, said the police officer and went on her way. And so for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to reading her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window, out the door, down the hall, toward the street, around the block, until another knock at the door. Who do you think it will be this time? Let's find out. A hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor, what brings you to my home? I was selling my hot dogs down this block when I smelled the most delicious smell. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ooh, stew. That sounds quite delectable. So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu. And the hot dog vendor went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker, and even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Amu shared her stew with them. Look at all those people. Smelling Amu's delicious stew made them hungry, and so they stopped by. Soon, the sky darkened. The streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for Amu's dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot and thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. Oh my. Amu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until... Now who's at my door? Who could that be? What do you think's there? Little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. While everyone she fed was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. Don't worry, Amu. We're not here to ask. We're here to give. What do you think they're giving her? The police officer carried in salad. The mayor had a roast chicken. The baker bought a collection of sweets. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in his shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated, While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. The dinner was the best she's ever had. Inside that red envelope, the little boy wrote her a thank you note. Maybe we could write a thank you note to someone that we appreciate. Well, that's the book for today. Stay tuned and we will be doing follow-up activities. Hope you enjoyed.